And I don't know where we got to this point in the narrative that just because you have players who are going to be drafted high, that means that they know how to win a college game today. Like this whole thing about like Duke and the whole one and done thing, you know. So last year, Grayson Allen takes a shot at the end of regulation that goes around the rim twice and falls out. If that drops, Marvin Bagley's in the Final Four. Does that change the one and done narrative? This year they take Michigan State, the Big Ten champs, to the last possession. They lose on an accidentally made free throw. They lose by 1 point. If they win that game, all of a sudden one and done is validated again? Well, they won in 2015. That was 4 years ago. Like, what's Coach K doing? So my point is that if anybody could look at John Calipari's record and say somehow it's lacking, then you need to completely reset your mind frame.
Yeah, but he is the one who has instilled and reminded us of, hey, look at all these guys and look at the talent and look at all the billions of dollars my players have earned. He's a way station for them.
Yes.
I know. I think he's a better coach if he had players who were there for 2 or 3 years than he is with the one and done. I know that he welcomes the one and done, and you have to have that mindset to welcome them in. I don't think this showcases his coaching talents when he has just, these kids who are just passing through.
Well, it's, again, this word coaching, right? It's, to me, that takes place over time. So, yes, It's like you don't have the opportunity. The problem with building these rosters that these guys get into, they have a lot less control over their rosters than people realize. Obviously, ideally, you'd have a couple of guys. You'd have a Zion, you'd have an RJ, and then you'd have a Quinn Cook and an Emil Jefferson and guys who are maybe good enough to kind of be pros but are older and create that. The problem becomes players don't want to stay around long enough to play that role. So you have to pretty much get lucky. Like Villanova with their older roster, you don't think Jay Wright would take Zion Williamson and RJ Barrett, right? So they build, and there's only 5 to 7 of those guys every year. There aren't that many of those guys.
Yeah,
so
but
if Cal
Michigan
gets 3 and K gets 3.
Michigan State, Izzo doesn't get the one and doneer.
But that doesn't mean he's not recruiting them.
Well,
he's lost all those guys. He lost Okafor. He lost Jabari. He just lost Vernon Carey to Duke. I mean, everyone say, well, Coach K changed his philosophy. He didn't change his philosophy ever. He always recruited those guys. He just started getting them. So my point is that when you have those guys on your roster, they got to play most of the minutes. They got to take most of the shots. And other guys don't want to play complementary roles or stick around to their junior and senior year and be those guys. So you kind of have to pick one way or the other. But again, I mean, Kentucky lost in overtime in the Elite Eight, and Duke lost by a point, and has now lost in the Elite Eight 2 years in a row. They both won championships with one-and-done rosters. They both gone to the Final Four. So to look at that and say somehow they're underachieving, I guess maybe I'm missing something.
He's Seth Davis, CBS Sports College Basketball Analyst, Managing Editor of The Athletic, College Basketball. But I can also look at this and say, did Coach K have the right roster in place, having Zion and RJ Barrett? That this is a perimeter game. It's become even more so a perimeter game each year. Did he have the right team surrounding them?
He had the best team that he could get under the circumstances. When you're losing 3 and 4.
But can't you find an outside shooter who might not be a one and done?
Easier said than done. Easier said than done. I'm telling you, because they have to be able to play. I mean, you understand that he knows this, right? Like, he can look at his team and say, boy, it'd be nice if we had a knockdown shooter. Some of these guys didn't pan out. Alex O'Connell, Jack White will look great in the first couple of games, and then he went 0 for like 2019. He literally missed 20. He literally missed 29 3-pointers in a row. So, and Zion and RJ, as talented as they are and as much potential as they have, they are underdeveloped. They're 18 and 19. And there's only what Krzyzewski's gotten good at, and Calipari's really good at this, is there's only so much you can teach these guys in a 7 or 8 month period. So let's teach them what they're capable of learning. And again, did he have the right roster? It would be nice if he had another shooter. They won, 31 games? I think they lost 5 or 6 games all year. Half of them were without Zion. I think only one of them. They lost 2 games all year at full strength, and they lost by 1 point in the Elite Eight. I think he had a pretty good roster.
But there was no secret. I said if you can keep them on the perimeter, they don't make free throws, and they don't shoot well, and they're going to get stung in the tournament.
And the fact is, to argue against myself, they're very fortunate even just to be
absolutely.
in that game.
They should have lost to Central Florida.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV or download the Dan Patrick Show app.